Okay.
Do you want to speak up?
Hi, my name is Brett King and this is my son Ashya King. We were most disturbed today to find that his face is all over the internet and newspapers, and we've been labelled as kidnappers, putting his life at risk, neglect. There's been a lot of talk about this machine. As you see, it's all plugged in. We've got loads of these feeds here. We've got iron supplements and we have cowpole. As you can see, that there's nothing wrong with him. He's very happy actually. Since we took him out of hospital, he's been smiling a lot more. He's been very much interacting with us. But I just wanted to say very quickly why we took him out of the hospital. The surgeon did a wonderful job on his head that took out the brain tumour completely, they reckon. But straight away afterwards, he went into what's called a posterior fossa syndrome, which means very limited moving or talking or doing anything. So we had him in the hospital. He was very weak, not much progress. Each day maybe he would move a little bit more. And then 2 weeks after his surgery, that we were called in to see the oncologist, Dr. Gary Nicolin, please remember that name, and Dr. Rabia, and please remember that name. We go in to see them, and we've done a little bit of research, and we wanted our son to have proton beam treatment, which they don't do on the NHS. They're building a proton beam centre, I think, in Manchester, but it's not going to be ready for a couple of years. So we asked the NHS if we could please go to America, Switzerland, or another country to get proton beam, because proton beam is so much better for children with brain cancer. It zones in on the area whereby normal radiation passes right through his head, comes out the other side, destroys everything in his head. So we pleaded with them for proton beam treatment. They looked at me straight in the face and they said, with his cancer, which is called a medulloblastoma, it would have no benefit whatsoever. Well, I went straight back to my room and looked it up, and the American sites and French sites and Switzerland sites where they have proton beam said the opposite, that it would be very beneficial for him. So then I spoke to them again. I wrote him a letter, which he never responded to, saying, okay, I will sell my property in order to pay for the proton beam. That I've got no problem at all in paying for the proton beam. I contacted the Prague Proton Beam Centre, and they sent me an email which I passed on to Dr. Gary Nicolin, but he did nothing with it. He wasn't interested in that. It also in the meeting that it seems it's all trial and error, because they were saying about Milan protocol. You hear a lot about protocols, but then it was contradicted by Dr. Ramia, because Dr. Gary Nicolin said that it's still ongoing, the Milan protocol, but then it was contradicted by Dr. Ramia to say, no, that's been finished with, it wasn't any good, which gave us not much confidence that it's just trial and error. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Then he came up with this other protocol saying we're going to give him a little bit of chemotherapy, radiation, and then chemotherapy again. When I asked him what the little bit of chemotherapy, why that was needed, I couldn't really get to what he was trying to say. And then straight away afterwards he said, more or less, if I question him in any way regarding his treatment, they would get an emergency protection order and take him away from me. So after that I realised I can't speak to the oncologist at all, because if I actually asked anything or gave them any doubt, I wasn't in full accord with them, they were just going to get a protection order, which meant in his deepest, darkest hour, I wouldn't be there to look after him, neither would my wife, that they would prevent us from entering the ward. So under that such a cruel system, I decided to start looking at the proton beam myself. And I tried to get it, but they needed the MRI and X-ray reports from Dr. Gary Nicolin, who just ignored them. To this date, he hasn't done anything about that. So we decided to try and sort it out ourselves, but now we're refugees almost, that we can't do anything. The police now are after us, and the things we want to do to raise the money to pay for the proton beam, they've prevented it now. So my son is being treated, and he's doing fine. We're very happy with his progress. We're not neglecting him. He has everything that he had in hospital. He's not on any medication in the hospital. The only thing they made sure that he had feed, and we've got bundles of this feed, that Cowpole, if he had ever had increase, we've got their syringes, 60 mil, 10 mil and 20 mil syringes, so we can feed him as well as what they can do. We give him water. We give him 600 millilitres of water, which he was on in the hospital, feed through those tubes there. So we do everything what the nurses do. And there's no way we're neglecting him. Look, he's moving his legs, he's moving his head. He's responding so much better than when he did in the hospital, just looking up at the ceiling all the time. That we couldn't take it anymore, not knowing and not being able to question anything, in fear that they say, sorry Mr. and Mrs. King, emergency protection order, you're no longer allowed in the ward. Under that stress, our son has got a grade 4 brain tumour. We couldn't discuss or question them at all, in fear that our son would be in that ward all day long by himself without his parents being able to come in. So we couldn't be under that system anymore. I've had to try and do it myself. I was going to get the money to pay for the proton beam therapy, but they prevented that now because the police in Spain are involved, and I can't do what I wanted to do. So I just please ask, call off this ridiculous chase. We're not neglecting our son. He's in perfectly good health. Speak to the nurses. Have they seen him move as much as this? My son's smiling, he's happy. We're doing things as a family with him. We just want to be left in peace. He's very sick. I just want to get on with his treatment. And I'm not coming back to England if I cannot give him the treatment I want, which is proper treatment, not a little bit of chemotherapy or the Milan protocol that, oh, now it's not working, it was working, but it didn't work out well, the children got sicker and died. I don't need that. I just want positive results for my son. And I realised that hospital with Dr. Gary Nicolin and Dr. Ramiyar didn't have my interests or my son's interests at all. And you will find in hospital, you're just being processed. Next one, cancer, childhood cancer. Okay, this one's got to go on to chemotherapy, so that one's shuffled down the line. This one, it doesn't matter how weak he was in the hospital, they still were going to put a face mask on his face, lying under radiation, and just keep pelting him with radiation. And such high Gry it's rated in, that it destroyed the whole of his head here. The brain can only tolerate 23.6. They know that. They were going to zap it here at 54. It would kill everything. They didn't tell me the long-term effects, but now I've come to find out through the internet that they say, oh, you're in a hospital, we can tell you all the facts, you don't need to look on the internet. But the thing is, they don't. They didn't tell me. They said, oh, vomiting perhaps, nausea. Well, these are the short-term side effects. The long-term side effects for my son, secondary malignant cancers. So the radiation will cause more cancers. He will be growth stumped, mentally that he'll be stumped. He won't be able to process information, which means he won't be able to tell me what 5 and 5 is, because he won't be able to do it. Hearing loss, taste loss, eyesight problems, everything. You can't radiate a child with 56 degree on their radiation, a 5-year-old boy. I'm sorry. There's other things out there, but they're stopping me now from getting the money to do it. So I please ask, just call off the search, let me sort out my money, let me go to Czechoslovakia, pay for the treatment, and get it all sorted out. So that's it. If in a few days I can show you more that my son's still got the feed, we're feeding a bit of yogurt orally. Everything's going well for us. We don't want the stress, please, of being chased around. There's police outside our house in Spain. We don't know what's going on. We just want the best medical treatment. So I just say, please, please, please. You can see my son's not neglected. He's doing very well. He doesn't need the hospital. All I need is the money, and I'll get it all sorted out for him. Thank you very much.